Moshi Moshi, I'm your unfriendly neighborhood artist, and welcome to Spazz After Dark. If you are new here, hello, my name is Spazz, I run Spazzatic Studio, I am Spazzatic Studio, welcome one and all to the second channel. I am so pleased to present the third Craft Like a Spazz installment. What are we doing today? We're making technically just like playing card holders, but you can also apply everything that I do today to making pocket altars. To me, like having a pocket altar and having a deck of cards in my bag is kind of the same thing. So I have probably titled this, editing Spazz will chime in here if I didn't do what I said I was gonna do, but I've probably titled this Making Pocket Altars. So recently I made this. It's just a little pouch to hold my Modiano playing cards. They're the very typical like Briscola and Scopa cards. It's the like very typical Italian cards. These ones are very special. They were my nonno's cards and he had them his entire life, and then my brother inherited them when he passed away, and then my brother gave them to me. I use these as my on-the-go tarocchi, so the on-the-go tarot, basically. Obviously, there's no like major arcana for archetypes like the Fool, Death, the Lovers, blah, blah, blah. But there is all the minor suites, so Swords, Cups, Pentacles, Wands. And then I put like just a little Sharpie dot so that I could do reversals. I know that like when it comes to like tarot cards, not everybody reads reversals. I kind of do, but I kind of don't. I kind of do both. My idea of a pocket altar, I'll put a picture of one that I actually found recently on Facebook Marketplace, is a scapulaire, which is basically just like, it's like a little unfoldy sort of Catholic like iconography thing. For reference, like obviously as an Italian, I grew up Roman Catholic, Ooooh, but I don't consider myself Roman Catholic. I was baptized, but not communionized or confirmed, which is kind of a slay. My lovely dad is Cuban, and they're obviously in like, they practice Santeria. We're all initiated into the Mano de Orula. I wear mine all the time, and I've actually made a reel. I'll put it somewhere. I've made a reel with my Elegua. So I'm pretty open about it. My dad is like, you know, 800th generation Yoruba voodoo priest. So if you didn't know, I've talked about it before. I went to college for 5 years. I ended up getting 3 degrees, and and then I went to Concordia, and then I dropped out because ooh, tumor time. But anyway, while I was there, I did a double major in history and I did a minor in religion, and I got permission to basically be like sponsored. I don't know how to like describe it in English terms, because like Quebec college institutions are weird. It's almost like when you do a master's and you have like a supervisor, except you can like really get specific with your minor, because I wanted to do mine in like voodoo. Obviously. I'm a big fan of Baba Ifa Karade. He writes a lot of really interesting historical perspectives, and he also kind of writes books for like lay people who are not initiated into the secrets of Ifa. And they're very enlightening, and they give a really interesting historical perspective. And if you're curious as to like where the concept of voodoo comes from, I would definitely recommend looking into him. I'll add a link in the description so you can like find his works. I'll give you the gist, right? Because like people hear voodoo and they get really afraid. But the thing is that like in English, we don't really have terms that align with like the actual terms. So for example, you'll hear the word cult being used. Practices like candomblé or palo or santeria or what have you came from essentially these cults, these religious groups who had been living separately, but because of the slave trade had been lumped together. And so they decided to intermingle to recreate basically a religion where the worship of certain deities wasn't segmented, it was unified. So the cult of Oshun and the cult of Chango would merge, and so that way they could guarantee that they didn't lose ancestral knowledge if one of them was wiped out. For reference, in Guanabacoa is considered in Cuba, like globally it's considered the place where there is the most like purely preserved Congolese culture post-slavery, and it's the home of the necromancy cult, which is again like kind of an English misnomer, but whatever, language, known as the Palo Mayombe. The Palo people, there used to be 7 tribes. We don't have evidence of any of them surviving other than the Palo Mayombe, who were more so like necromancy focused. They fall under the umbrella of Ifa, because we have to remember that Ifa was not originally a religion proper. It was more so considered a method of governing. Ifa and its moral philosophy was considered basically the basis for which to like grow societies and determine upstanding moral character. Because of slavery, it really like took on a new life as a purely religious concept. But in reality, it was really more of like a socio-political framework through which African like tribes governed themselves. So what does that have to do with pocket altars and tarot? The reason that you don't see a whole lot of voodoo in the States, you don't have like all of these cults, is because in the States there were Protestants and Puritans, and they were less into saint iconography. In other places that were ruled by the Spanish, like Cuba, like Santeria came about because these people who were doing voodoo decided to syncretize their orishas, their deities, with Catholic saints. The orishas are not quite deities proper. A lot of people liken them to like a Greek pantheon. That's not what they are. The whole thing with Ifa is that we believe that like there is no god. There's no guy, like man in the sky. There is the limitless potential for creation, and there is nature, and there is the human experience. And so you experience God as multifaceted. We do have a prophet. He's very similar to Islam's prophet, peace be upon him. And we believe that like these motifs of creation and evolution can materialize on earth. We also believe in the validity of all religions. You have to believe in science, and you have to believe that everybody's religious experience is valid, because again, the universe is kind of esoteric and fragmented. It's not cut and dry. Ifa is very esoteric, and it is maybe a bit mentally hard for people to kind of keep track of. I see a lot of practitioners and initiated people who do not know what they're talking about, which is really concerning to me. But again, like the literature is out there. If you want to read more about the Palo, Don Demetrio's autobiography is available for free as a PDF. You can read a primary source document from after slavery was abolished in Cuba. And Don Demetrio was like the guy who began the initiation of white people into the cult of the Palo Mayombe. And he did it specifically because he knew that racism and population density would make it so that if the white people were not involved, there would be no more religion. The orishas, a lot of people liken them to a pantheon, or in Cuba, like they'll be called quite literally the saints, the same way that you would like categorize like a Catholic saint. In reality, they are manifestations of nature. So they do not adhere to the gender binary. They could be male or female. There are archetypes, like a lot of people think that like Oshun is exclusively female. She has a male element. Chango is another one who is usually depicted as exclusively male, but he also has a female element, which ironically is Santa Barbara for Cubans. But yeah, they represent nature. There's a lot of emphasis on like the main rivers in Africa that were used for like trade and resources. So you'll notice like the Yewa River, the Oshun River, the Ogun River, all of these different rivers take on the personification of like an Orisha. And yeah, so we love us some nature. So tarot. Tarot doesn't really have anything to do with voodoo proper. You can go see a babalao, you can go see a voodoo priest. Like, even if you're not in the religion, you could go and be like, I have questions. But the thing is, you can't practice unless you have done the ita, which is the initiation, which would give you the mano de orula. Them are the rules. We have many different priest classes. We have many different classes of like mystics that are in charge of various things. And so, you know, some people sometimes will say like, I communicate with the orishas through the tarot. No, you don't. Because the only way to communicate with the orishas is through our system of divination. It's through the dilogun, which you cannot do unless you are like the highest in the priest class. Ancestor veneration is a big part of voodoo. Honoring our ancestors is as important as honoring sort of the fundamental concepts of like God and orishas and nature. It is such a big deal. Back in the day, people used to bury their family members under their houses. In modern sort of Cuba, in the last, let's say, like 1,000 years, there's the invention of the teja, which is a voodoo portal essentially between this sort of realm and the spirit realm. And then there is the bobida, which is a more so Catholic thing. We have both because of course we do. A bobida is more of a Catholic thing. Italians do it a lot. If your nonna has ever had like a room or like a little table with like pictures of everybody who's ever died and like a glass of water, that's what that is. That's not a closed practice. You could do it right now. Like, you could literally decide to make one tomorrow. Not a big deal. You don't even have to be Catholic. Who cares? So ancestor veneration is a very big deal for us. And so the context of tarot for me is not so much a way to communicate with like a tertiary esoteric spirit. I really, like, it really is, I have like a separate tarot deck for like all of my loved ones, and I ask specific people specific questions. I'm in a unique position where I have 3 sides of my family. There's my mom, there's my dad, and then there's my bio dad, who I do not associate with. If you know, you know. But yeah, so it's like, I'm in a very unique position. It's not, I think, a position that a lot of people are in when it comes to ancestor veneration. Generally, it's considered you've got like side A, side B. I've kind of got side A, B, and C. Because even though, like, I've never met, for example, my dad's grandparents, right? Like, I've never met my bio dad's grandparents either, but like I haven't even met my dad's mom, because by the time I was sort of old enough to talk to her, she had dementia and she just was not there. But like I still regard his side of the family as if we are A, blood related, and B, like, you know, like I owe them something. I love them, and I know that they're with me always. His grandmother, we call her Nenita, and whenever I like really don't feel well, when I was in palliative care, when I was like half dying, when I needed like just spiritual support emotionally, when I feel I can't go through it anymore, like I will call for Nenita and you know what I mean, find more comfort in Nenita than I would a lot of my like actual blood relatives and ancestors. So the tarot is very special to me, not just because it's like a fun party trick, but because it like has a big significance in our family, and I feel that wherever everybody is, you know, when we die and we kind of cross over into this like next journey of the human soul, I feel that it brings me closer to wherever they are. Okay, sorry, that delved into like really serious territory. But I just wanted to, I like talking about my religion. I like talking about Ifa, and I like talking about moral philosophy. And it's something that doesn't get talked about a lot. Now in the modern age, practitioners are like trying to share all of this knowledge with like the lay people. But for a very long time, obviously, doing voodoo would get you killed by your slave master. And so secrecy was a big part of all of these religious traditions. It was baked into the concept of Ifa, was the tenet of like secrecy. And modern scholars like Baba Ifa Karade realize like we can't continue like this, because it gives white people the ability to run with our narratives and spin them however they want. Haitian Voodoo gets a big bad rep a lot because of like, oh my god, Haitian zombies and like all of these things. And the reason that that is allowed is because a lot of like popular horror fetish films were made by white people about Haitian spirituality in order to fearmonger. And so I think it is important that if you practice Ifa or one of its like you know, offshoots, that you share knowledge that you have so that we can legitimize this practice that is older, in fact, than most ever religions. Like, from an anthropological perspective, we have evidence that like cavemen were practicing sympathetic magic, that they were making like proto-Elegwas essentially. And I think that's very powerful. I actually sold this year a lot of my tarot collection because there is simply too much, but I thought that I would show you really quickly and then we can do the craft, I promise. I guess we'll start here. This is the Occult Tarot. It's so pretty. It's like all of the little demons. I got really into demonology last winter, like from a curiosity stance. I really wanted to look into it. Look at the insightful guide. I read actually over the period of a couple of years, because it is a bit of a heavy book, Osogbos, Speaking to the Spirits of Misfortune. It is essentially like a voodoo perspective on like misery and misfortune and like the spirits of misfortune in the context of like dying of cancer and palliative care. And I was like, oh my god, relatable content. But also I think it's a very like beautiful book, and it's a very interesting perspective on like how suffering like makes us stronger, and how suffering can, like, it's not all for naught, you know? There's elements of going through hard times that like nourish the soul as much as going through good times. I thought that was very beautiful. But I bought this. Check it out. Very nice. Very beautiful. It's got these like little sigils and then the little demon and then like a little like explanation. I just thought that these were super cool. This is the back. Oh, and it's got this like hollow foil, the red foil. I just thought that was really nice. Next thing, Tarot of the Divine by Yoshitani. This is really pretty too. This is like a East Asian sort of like mythical themed, but then there's also like Indian and African elements, and it's basically just a bunch of like divine concepts. You can't really tell so much, but the cards are like textured, almost. They're very matte. This is the back. This is cool, by Jill Pyle. It's the Sacred Self-Care Oracle. It is quite literally just a bunch of different cards with like self-care suggestions. So the Antique Anatomy Tarot, this one is really pretty, but the art is really beautiful. It's kind of this like really old-timey like medical diagram art. This is the back. It's very beautiful. Like, I love this. Like, look at this, the chariot, and it's two giant horse skulls. We have Woodland Wardens. This one is another one where it's like not quite a tarot deck proper. It's basically all of these little animals, and they come with like an archetypal message. So you like use the little book and you like look at the animal that you got. So it's like the badger and the ginkgo, healing wounds, the rooster and the sunflower, communication, the coyote and the datura, deceit. If you didn't know, datura is like, can cause you to hallucinate to death. So interesting. I also have the Literary Witches Oracle. I bought this because I went through a phase of getting really into like Nora Zeal Hurston, which, if you have any interest in voodoo, she was involved in Haitian voodoo and she like wrote about it. And then I read Beloved, and I got really into like historical fictional perspectives on voodoo. This is the back. And these ones are also kind of esoteric. So you have like objects and places like pond, milk, wall, and then you have like characters. So for example, like Emily Dickinson, Sappho is in here, Gertrude Stein. This deck, I believe, is also how I got into Yumiko Kurahashi, who, by the way, if you can get an English copy of The Woman with the Flying Head and Other Stories, please do, because oh my god, if you're into surrealist horror and like Japanese surrealism, like if you like the movie Paprika, you will love her writing. Cats Rule the Earth Tarot. It's got this really beautiful guidebook, but this one is exactly what it sounds like. It's literally just like a bunch of cats, and then I really like the back with the cat skulls. I think that's like really, really pretty. Actual little decks. I got this as a gift, tarot, what is it? The Carlotide. But these are really pretty. Like, look at that. You know? Oh yeah, it's also in Spanish, so you have like Reina de Espada, Nueva de Bastos, blah 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 blah. But for some reason, Carlotide. Yeah, I don't know why it's a French title. Okay, here we go. Dibujo originale de Carlota Santos. So it's by, the drawings are by Carlota Santos. Yeah, and it's made by Fournier, made in Spain. Carlotide. Carlotide? I don't know. This might be a Quebec thing. This might be a relabeled Quebec thing. I have to double check. I bought these on eBay. This is like a reproduction of like the typical Italian tarocchi. Look at that. Look at the back. I love it. Oh, that's so pretty. Look at the Ace of Cups. It's so pretty. This tarot, I think, has a really nice, soothing, feminine energy, and I like it very much. This is the back, and then all of the cards are gold foiled in some way, and it's Art Nouveau. It's just very beautiful. Like, it's really a feast for the eyes, man. Okay, I love Blind the Sun. More on that to come, but I couldn't get her tarot cards. But I also love Micah Ulrich. Oh my god. And I got their tarot deck as a gift. And I love, let me tell you, if you've played Bramble the Mountain King, she looks like the wet nurse. Isn't that so cool? These are so beautiful. It's all in Micah Ulrich's style. It's like so cool. I wish I had a style that lent itself to like making tarot decks. I don't know what the weeb tarot for intrepid weebs. But like, look how pretty. But like, this one is one of my prized possessions. It's so pretty. And I love Mika's artwork, and I've been a follower for years and years and years. So like, God bless. And of course, so these, you can see how like beloved these are. The box is absolutely destroyed. I've had these since I was a teenager. They're Spanish reproduction cards. This is like my main deck. I quite literally use it every single day. I carry it in my purse always. If ever you see me with any kind of bag, know that a legua and my tarot cards are in there. It's like that meme, what's with the pocket? Oh, Jake's in there. Hey, Jake. Like, it's very that. Hope you like that little tarot card tour very much. Let's do the craft! The power of voodoo. Who do you do what? Remind me of the babe. Welcome to the Spazz Studio desk. Don't look at the mess. We're not looking at the mess. What are we doing today? I really wanted to show you how I made this super cool little card holder. The materials I'm using, really nothing special. So the inside of this is felt, and it's gonna and this is just a random like yarn that I had. The felt is basically to construct like the casing, and then we'll sew our like nice fabric onto that. You can get big sheets of felt like this or little ones at the dollar store or literally any craft store. They're like $1 each. For the fabric, I have this thing, which is basically just full of like random scrap fabric, and I have a bit of the Blind the Sun fabric cutoffs as well, so maybe we can do something with those. Sewing kit, this is an Amazon basic sewing kit. Optional, but I like it a lot. Some like good quality glue. The Aleene's tacky glue doesn't really stick, I find, as good to the felt. Some super glue like E6000, it'll help you keep things together when you're trying to sew. And obviously just like some pins. I just have these like shitty Walmart pins to hold your fabric together. And if you want to do the same kind of like closure, some buttons. This is my random assorted button jar. I didn't have to buy anything new for this craft, which is kind of like when I'm crafting, I try to use things that I already have, unless it's really like something like random and esoteric that I absolutely do not have. But yeah, we're using scraps of whatever we have lying around. And it's more authentic that way. I've moved you guys down here so you can like actually see what I'm doing. These are the clips I was talking about. I thought I didn't have them, but I do. So these are good for just like holding fabrics together while we stitch. Because as you can see, I'm stitching fabric to felt, right? The first step is pretty easy. So use your felt. It doesn't have to be black. It could be any color. And just something that you can like mark it up with. This is a silver paint pen. We'll grab, in this case, we're gonna do our cards and just measure. So I think actually we're gonna have to go this way. And then, so like for something like this, you can grab your clip or your pin and just close up the bottom so that you know, see, where the bottom will go. So we'll slide our cards out of here. And so I have an inside marker and an outside marker. So I'm basically just gonna use this outside marker and like cut across in a straight line so that I have the general outline basically of the card shape. So essentially we're left with this. So we'll put the cards in here again. Awesome. So I'll try to do this like facing you basically. So we're making the like inside casing of this thing. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do facing the camera, but we're making the inside casing. So this will go like this, and then this can wrap around. And so we're like sure at this point that basically what's missing, like we've made the bottommost casing and basically what's missing is the top. Because it needs to like open like this, right? What we're gonna do is we're gonna have a panel and then like a flap. So we'll start just by like doing the bottom. We know that the sides are fine. What I'm gonna do is we want the closure probably to go like about here. So this part we're gonna cut so that it's this section, and then with this extra fabric I'm basically just gonna create a flap that flaps over. Okay, so this is my side. I'm just gonna adhere the glue. So now when I stitch around, I have like a really solid base. And I recommend just put a rubber band around your cards so that they like stay together. We're going to eventually have a flap here that closes.
We cannot escape, we cannot come out.
We'll just line up the side. Obviously I have extra fabric here. I'm gonna cut it off at the end. Doesn't super matter. Kind of looks like a little vampire. So, and I do a very, 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 very basic like whip stitch thing. I'll show you what I do. It's not fancy at all. Like you can see it here. It's a very basic whip stitch. It's really not like, it's nothing crazy. Start sewing. I think what I'm gonna do actually first is I'm gonna cut off this extra lip as well because I don't need it. So where the glue ends, we'll start snipping. I'll show you how I stitch. So you're gonna go in, here is my seam. Gonna go in and you have this loop. Just pull, 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 pull. When you have the little loop, you just put your whole needle through and you pull and it seals up. Okay, so I sewed up all the way up here, connected the two pieces of felt to make my side flap. Now I'm going to sew around the bottom so that I don't need this pin. And as you can see, our little vampire deck, she's sitting real nice. So the last thing we'll do is we'll deal basically just with like this flap. And this flap needs to come up and down actually. So everything is sealed up. This thing is pretty like malleable. So you'll notice here, right? Like it's still all sewn together. The whole point is that like this thing is not static. So as long as it's got enough give to go like up and down over the cards, we'll cut out this like extra fabric that we don't need. We're good. So now we can focus on attaching a separate flap, which is going to be this flap. So as you can see, I've sewn it to the top panel. In this case, I did 3 panels, 1, 2, and 3. In this case, I'm gonna do 2. So 1, because this is all part of the same structure, and then a panel here. So, yeah, perfect. So because this thing kind of has like a lip, like where we're sewing, I'm gonna pin this, or sorry, I'm going to clamp this. I'm not gonna use a pin. So it's clamped and we'll sew. So take your cards out of this thing so that you can lay it. So this will line up with my joint. This will line up with my side. Oop, let me move it a little bit to the right. Bada bing, a bada boom. Perfect. So let's start clamping. Okay, so I sewed all the panels on. My mom came home, so we kind of went to Yap City for a couple hours, but it looks like this. So what I did was that same strip of fabric that I showed you, all I did was basically just attach this extra flap to the top. So you take your fabric, like we did with the felt, wrap it around the whole deck, and then you're just adding this. I decided to trash the idea of having a front panel because these cards are quite large. I don't want this to be like overly bulky, but I am going to do something here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of hide these seams and things by putting a panel of felt. So we don't have a ton of free space to work with. We have all of this, and then we have to account for the buttonhole. I sewed around the buttonhole just to like stop the fabric from fraying, but this corduroy fabric frays really easily. So I think what we have to do is we're gonna have to put some glue as a fray stop, and then we're gonna have to seal in the edges.
So have you seen the fortune telling moment? Have you come to tell my fortune?
Change my attire because it's literally freezing. Okay. So for the inside of the berries, I was originally thinking like a nice, what's it called? Purple? Maybe like a berry or a red. Maybe I'll do red. I don't want to do pink because I'm not super duper into pink. I'm more of a pastel purple girly when it comes to like pastels. But yeah, I can live with this. Okay, I'm going to be yelling in the background. Ethnic household. A very rough, rudimentary square. So we'll cut out a nice little square. Okay, so I marked the hole. And now we'll cut out the buttonhole. Okay, so I have pinned everything that I glued, and I re-sewed around the buttonhole. So we'll just make sure our button goes, okay, it's kind of hard with the pins though. Aline's glue takes 30 minutes to become tacky, but it takes 24 hours to cure completely. So I'm gonna leave this, yeah, perfect. I'm gonna leave this overnight, and then tomorrow we can decorate our fake scapulary.
The next day.
It is the next day. Welcome back to the Spazzatic Studio desk, where only cool, sexy people are allowed, which means you are cool and sexy. I took the clips off. As you can see, we have a nice felt. I double checked. The button does fit through the front panel. We're all good. So we have to now decide what we want. As you can see, obviously, there isn't like a shit ton of space. My original plan was to cut out, I have all these prayer cards, was to cut out my Saint Bridget one. Saint Bridget is usually syncretized with Oya, who protects like graveyards and ancestor spirits, but the card is from Ireland and I forgot how pretty it was and I don't want to cut it. So I went into the drawer of my Bobida and pulled out a bunch of other stuff. So maybe we could find something from here. Oh yeah, there's also this, so like the tarot guide that I always use, it comes with like this like super old booklet and this like thingy, and there's an alchemy circle in here that I was like, oh, maybe we can like cut that out. Hold on. I knew there had to be something. I went through some old jewelry, like these like random broken bits and bobs, and I found, who is this? Padre Pio. I found a tiny Padre Pio. And then I found this, okay, this Madonnina, I got it after my grandfather passed away. And the like clasp part is kind of thin and delicate. And so I'm kind of like, I don't know, you know? Like I don't wear it usually on a necklace because the clasp is so thin and delicate. I'm thinking that we can probably sew both of these onto here. So we got these two. There's gotta be a cross somewhere, someplace that like someone got as like a baptism gift. You know what I mean? Like Italian babies, we get all this like religious nonsense, gold stuff. And then you never do anything with it because it's like tiny baby sized. So let me have a look. I found the teeniest, tiniest little cross. So this, if you are not familiar with Italian lore, this belonged to my mom when they baptized her. Italians basically would have these charms that are like on safety pins. And what you do is you pin it to your baby's clothes so that when they go to get baptized, you pin it under the clothes so that the priest doesn't realize that he's participating in a witchcraft by blessing the like anti-evil eye charm. And so nowadays they make them like, instead of buying the charms and putting them on a safety pin, they make them like the whole safety pin is gold. And it's a folk tradition that Italians do, but it's not Catholic, right? Because the church doesn't condone witchcraft. So they would basically have to like do it in secret by duping the priest into blessing their little like charms, which hilarious. I love that. I love that for us. We really are like just shifty, greasy little people, man. Adding a Madonnina, adding my mom's baptism thingy, and then gonna add a little Padre Pio. I still do really want a prayer or something. So I don't know. I might print something out like just on paper with my printer, and then maybe in my recycling if I have some like random ass plastic, you know? So we'll start by stitching these. And and we'll see where we get to. Let me see if I could find like a teeny tiny little prayer to print. Okay, so I was able in Canva to basically resize a prayer and make it teeny tiny, and then I just stuck it to some extra fabric. So this is what I made in Canva. I added the like parchment and whatever. And it's basically just like a general like prayer, you know, for the well-being of the departed. So it's gonna be kind of hard to sew through corduroy and stuff. So I think that this is going to be sew around the border and then just glue it down situation. The little negative spaces that I can fill with these stars. So I'm just gonna grab my, oh my god, my tweezers that, bro please, the tweezers that I use for my miniatures, and stick these bad boys on. Okay, awesome. So I let this hang out for a bit again, like with the clips, because it's kind of hard sometimes to stick like felt and fabric. So we have our little prayer for the deceased. There's 2 cute little stars, 2 medallions, and I might actually put another star just so that it looks cohesive. And I did check, the button can be used. Okay, my stars are on. I'm going to clamp them down to give them like the best possible chance of sticking. And again, we're gonna give the Aleenes 24 hours to fully cure. If you want something that cures immediately, it would have to be like a super glue. But because I don't really want to huff super glue, I've decided to just do craft glue.
2,000 years later.
Welcome to day 3. Oh. Oh. So this is fully dried and cured overnight. When you open it, there it is. You have your little ancestor prayer. We've got a Padre Pio, the Madonnina, my mom's baptism thing, and then just to fill in some of the negative space, I made these little felt stars. It's beautiful. This is the Blind the Sun scrap fabric. There is kind of a bit of like a selvage edge, but I don't think it detracts. Like the vibe is homemade, so I don't think it really makes a difference. And ka-chow. I love it. This is such a fun craft. Please DIY it. Make a proper pocket altar. I'm getting the itch now to like redo this pouch as well, to maybe like change the clasp. You know what I mean? Into like a button and a slit situation. But like, these are so fun to make. So yeah, that's it.
With that, I couldn't hear you over my tarot cards.
I hope you enjoyed the craft very much. This video is kind of long for a craft like a spaz segment, so we won't do a fan art Sunday this time, but I do have fan art queued up. I always say WWW. English is not my first language. .spazzaticstudio.com. And just hit the contact me button and send me what you got, baby, and I'll feature it on the Fan Art Sunday. For everything else, if you would like to keep up with me and my spaztastic adventures, follow me on TikTok at SpazzaticStudio. And if you would like to see the art and just the weeb stuff, you can check me out on Instagram at Spazzatic Studios Creations. And of course, please do join the Patreon, because I'm starting to put exclusive YouTube content on there, but the base tier is totally free, and there's like brush packs and downloadables and bases, and I actually put a lot more content into the free tier. So please check out patreon.com/SpazzaticStudio, because I will be there. If you did not know, I have a main channel, Spazzatic Studio. There's some really cool video essays on there, and also some fun little tutorials. I've started streaming again. I will see you on Instagram and TikTok for that. Usually I'll post on my story and I'll tell you when I am streaming and what I am streaming. And yeah, that's it. Follow me for more adventures. Let me know what other crafts we should do for Craft Like a Spaz. And stay weird. I love you. Bye!